The bedroom was dark, except for the dim flicker of the streetlight sneaking through the blinds. The soft creaking of the old mattress blended with the muted breathlessness of a man and woman locked in rhythm. I arched into his warmth, eyes closed, my fingers tangled in the sheets, sweat shimmering across our skin like confession. My body quivered beneath his as he moved slowly, deeply, his breath hot on my neck, murmuring my name in that rough whisper that always melted me. It wasn't rushed and it wasn't wild, but it felt desperate, like both of us were clinging to a flame we couldn't afford to lose. My back arched again. His strong hands gripped my waist just enough to hold me together. We kissed like we hadn't in years, like lovers, not a married couple, barely surviving a storm. He looked into my eyes when we moved together, and for a brief moment, I wanted to believe we were okay. But the truth, I had already started drifting. This wasn't enough anymore. Vault Seekers, if you're here, you're family. This is Top Stories Vault, your number one channel for deeply emotional, steamy stories told like you've never heard before. If you're a returning Vault Seeker, thank you for always showing up. You all are the heartbeat of this channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, click that bell so you never miss an episode. And if you're already feeling this story, drop a comment and let us know. Have you ever loved someone but still felt lost? Now, let's get back into it. I'm Tamika Johnson. I'm 31. Black, curvy in the right places, smooth, deep chocolate skin, with a face people say belongs on magazine covers. But you know what beauty can't do? Pay bills, fix broken dreams, or wake you up from the emptiness that settles in when life isn't what you thought it'd be. I live in Jackson, Mississippi, not the glittery part you see in tourist ads. I'm talking about the back end neighborhoods where ambition dies slow and people stay stuck because nobody ever taught us how to leave. I'm married to Isaiah, strong, tall, good looking brother. Used to be the man I prayed for. He's 35, works overtime as a forklift operator at the warehouse plant down off McDowell Road. Been trying to get promoted for years. He's the kind of man who keeps his promises, just not the kind that keep your heart lit. We have a daughter, Harmony. She's 6, bright like the sun on a Sunday morning, hair like thick silk, eyes wide and curious. She's the only thing we've done right in this house. But lately, it's like we're just roommates. Sleep, eat, work, smile for Harmony, repeat. Our conversations barely last more than 5 minutes unless they're about bills. And our love life? Most nights, he's too tired to hold me. And even when he does, I'm not there. I pretend. I sigh at the right times. I even fake the rhythm sometimes just so it can end sweet. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when Isaiah could just look at me and I'd feel fireworks across my spine. But that time feels like it belongs to another woman. The trouble started when my old friend from college, DeAndre, reached out on Instagram. He had always been that what if in the background of my life. Never touched me back then, but the tension, it was there. You know how you can be drawn to someone, but the timing's always off? He was different now. Not the boy with tattoos and mixtapes. He'd grown up, real estate agent, suits that fit, smile that could quiet a room. And he remembered everything: my laugh, my favorite color, the scar on my thigh from that bike fall in sophomore year. We started talking, just casual at first, then long voice notes at night, then phone calls that made me whisper under the covers so Isaiah wouldn't hear. And with every call, I felt more seen than I had in years. It was dangerous, but it felt too good to stop. Isaiah noticed my phone glowing late some nights. Once he asked who I was texting. I lied, said it was Kendra from work. He didn't question it. He trusted me like a fool. Or maybe he didn't care enough to dig. One night after putting Harmony to sleep, I walked past the bathroom mirror and just looked at myself. Still fine, still soft in the places men love to hold, still that girl with fire in her belly. But I had become something else too. a woman craving more, daring herself to feel again. I never thought I'd cheat. That wasn't me. That was the women we gossiped about at salon appointments. But now, the thought of DeAndre's voice in my ear, telling me how beautiful I was, touching me in ways Isaiah hadn't in months, it was waking something in me I had buried deep. I wasn't planning anything, not then. But looking back, I think my heart had already opened the door. DeAndre started calling every morning. "Good morning, Queen," he'd say, like I was someone worth writing poetry for. He'd send pictures from his balcony view, show me videos of houses he was flipping, tell me, "You should see this one in person. I think you'd love the kitchen. It's made for a woman like you." And I believed him. I started dressing up more. Just for work, I'd say. But it was really for him. Lip gloss came back, tight jeans, a little spray of perfume behind my ears. And Isaiah noticed, but he didn't ask. Part of me wanted him to. Wanted him to see me again, but he didn't. One Sunday afternoon, while Harmony was at my mama's, I stepped out for what Isaiah thought was a quick run to Walmart. But I didn't go to Walmart. I sat in my car in the parking lot across from DeAndre's office. We didn't go inside. We just sat in my car and talked for 2 hours. And when I reached to adjust my necklace, his fingers brushed mine and lingered. It was the kind of touch that said everything without needing a word. I drove home shaking. I told myself nothing happened, but the heat between my thighs said otherwise. I was slipping, and I liked it. I stopped counting how many nights I'd lie beside Isaiah, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I got here. The weight of his arm over my waist used to comfort me. Now it felt like a reminder of what used to be warm and what had slowly grown cold. The next morning, I got up before him. I stood in the bathroom, staring at my reflection. My eyes told on me. They looked guilty, but there was something else under that guilt. A wild flicker, like I was on the edge of something thrilling and dangerous. I liked how that felt, even if I hated myself for liking it. Isaiah walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes. His deep voice still held that morning rumble. "You okay, babe?" "Yeah," I lied, brushing my curls back into a bun. "Just tired." He kissed my cheek and said, "I might pick up another shift next week. Boss say they need help covering." "Another one?" I asked, trying not to let the frustration show. "You're already gone more than you're home." "It's for us, Tamika. We need the extra." He looked at me with those hopeful eyes, the ones that still thought hard work could fix everything. "I'm doing this for Harmony, for you." And he meant that. I knew he did. But I also knew what I needed wasn't more overtime. It was attention, intimacy, conversation, touch. Not duty, not survival, but something that made me feel alive again. Still, I nodded, like a good wife should. Later that evening, I sat on the couch while Isaiah dozed off watching the news. Harmony colored next to me, her crayon tapping the page. "Mommy, why don't you smile like before?" I blinked. "What you mean, baby?" "You used to smile a lot. You don't anymore." That hit harder than I expected. I reached over and kissed her forehead. "Mommy's just tired. Grown up tired." She went back to coloring, but her words stayed with me. Kids see more than we give them credit for. Later that night, I lay in bed and waited until Isaiah's breathing fell deep and even. I slipped out, phone in hand, heart pounding like I was doing something illegal. DeAndre answered on the second ring. "You always call when the house is asleep," he said with a low chuckle. "That's the only time I can breathe," I whispered back. We talked for an hour, not about anything big, just life. He asked how my day was, told me about a house in Canton he just sold, said the kitchen reminded him of me again. "And why is that?" I asked, smiling in the dark. "'Cause it's got fire, passion, feels like something real happens in there." He knew how to speak to parts of me Isaiah forgot, and that scared me. The next day, I dropped Harmony off at school and called in sick to work. I didn't feel sick, unless desire counts, DeAndre had a free morning, and I told myself we'd just meet for coffee. Just talk. Just a little escape. But when I pulled up to his apartment complex and he stepped out in a fitted gray tee that hugged his chest just right, I knew coffee wasn't what I came for. We sat on his couch, soft R&B playing low in the background. The conversation came easy, like always, until it didn't. There was a pause, the kind that hangs in the air waiting to be broken. His fingers brushed mine again, like they did that day in the car. Only this time, he didn't pull away. "You know I've been thinking about you nonstop, right?" he said, his voice low. I should have stood up, should have said I was married, but I didn't. I let him pull me closer. His lips met mine, soft at first, then fuller, deeper, the kind of kiss that makes your knees weak and your morals weaker. My hands found his shoulders, and I didn't stop him when his fingers traced the curve of my waist. We didn't rush. It was slow, drawn out, almost like a question asked with every touch. His lips traveled along my jaw, then down the hollow of my neck, and I shivered. I hadn't felt wanted like that in years. Clothes came off in whispers and sighs. No roughness, no noise, just the sound of breath and skin and aching. He laid me back on the couch like I was something valuable, something worth savoring. Every movement was careful but intense. He took his time, explored me like he'd memorized every line of me in his mind for years, and now had permission to touch what he had only dreamed of. Our bodies moved in rhythm, the tension building with every slow grind, every deep press, every whisper of my name. My back arched, lips parted. A soft moan escaped before I could stop it. His mouth covered mine, stealing the sound, stealing my resistance. It wasn't just physical, it felt like something spiritual, like I had left my body and come back in a new one. I lay there after, trying to catch my breath, my heart thudding like it had run a race. He kissed my shoulder. "You okay?" "I don't know," I said truthfully. He didn't ask me to explain, just pulled me close, let me breathe against him. I got dressed without saying much. The guilt started creeping in like fog, but so did something else. A spark I hadn't felt in years. A knowing that what just happened wasn't a mistake, not for my body. Maybe for my soul, but not for this hunger I'd been swallowing for too long. As I pulled into our driveway, Isaiah was leaving for his second shift. He waved and blew a kiss. I waved back. Harmony ran to the door, hair in little pink barrettes, smiling. "Mommy, you smell pretty." I hugged her tight, too tight. I had crossed a line I said I never would. But the truth? Part of me wanted to cross it again. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt DeAndre's breath on my skin, heard the deep groan he made when I pressed into him, saw the way he looked at me when we were tangled together like we had nothing to lose. But I had everything to lose. Isaiah lay beside me, snoring gently. Our room was dim, quiet, familiar, but I no longer felt safe in that familiarity. I felt caged. In the morning, I went about my routine, made Harmony's breakfast, packed her little lunch, smiled through drop off like a mother who had her life in perfect order. Inside, I was a storm. At work, I couldn't focus. My body was there, but my mind was somewhere between DeAndre's living room and the part of me I buried long ago. He texted me twice during the day. "You okay?" "I can't stop thinking about you." I didn't reply, not right away. I kept asking myself, was it a one-time mistake? Or had I opened a door I wasn't ready to close? That question answered itself when I found myself at his place again, just 3 days later. No excuses this time, no coffee meetup or just talk. I went there because I wanted to, needed to, and he opened the door like he knew I was coming. He didn't say much, just took my hand and led me inside. The air between us was electric, like the moment before lightning strikes. I reached for him first this time, my fingers in his curls, my mouth hungry against his. His hands found the zipper of my dress like they'd been waiting for permission. Clothes dropped, hearts pounded. This time wasn't slow, it was wild. Like everything we held back last time had snapped loose. He turned me around, pressed me gently to the wall. His hands were everywhere, strong, sure, tender. He kissed my shoulder, then my back, tracing every curve with his lips and palms. And when he moved into me, it was smooth, steady, like we'd done this 1,000 times before. He whispered things into my ear that made me blush and ache at the same time. I made soft sounds, low, breathy, urgent, the kind that would be heard only by someone who truly knew how to listen. His name escaped my lips again and again, tangled in moans and trembling. The room spun. My body burned. And when it was over, we both stayed wrapped around each other like the world outside didn't matter anymore. I rested on his chest, his fingers playing with my curls. I needed that, I whispered. He kissed my forehead. I know. So did I. We lay there in silence, and for a moment, I imagined what it would be like to stay, to never go back home, to raise harmony in a house where laughter and heat still lived, but reality always knocks eventually. When I got home, Isaiah was fixing dinner. Harmony sat at the table, giggling at a video on her tablet. Hey, babe, he said, eyes lighting up when he saw me. I thought I'd cook tonight. You've been running around so much. I stood there, stunned for a second. Isaiah wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a bad man. He kissed my cheek and I flinched, just slightly, but I knew he felt it. You all right? He asked, studying me. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. We ate dinner together like any happy family. Harmony told us about a new boy in her class who wore light-up shoes. Isaiah laughed, teased her, called her my little lady. But I was somewhere else, split between the man who loved me like a wife and the man who touched me like a dream. That night, Isaiah reached for me in bed. It was slow, like he was trying to remember how. His hands traced my waist, then slid lower. His kisses were soft, familiar. I let him explore me, let him love me in his way. But all I could feel was how different he was from DeAndre. His rhythm was tender, but missing that spark. I moved with him, moaned gently, kissed his neck, but I felt like a stranger in my own body. When it was over, he kissed my temple and whispered, I love you, Meek. I love you too, I whispered back, and hated myself for how untrue it felt. The next week, it got worse. DeAndre sent flowers to my job, said they were from a client, but I knew better. He sent a note tucked inside that read, I miss your breath in my ear. When can I see you again? I told myself to ignore it, but the minute Isaiah left for a night shift, I sent a text. I can be there in an hour. It wasn't just about the sex anymore. It was the escape. The way DeAndre made me feel wanted, seen, alive. With Isaiah, I was a wife, a mother, a provider. With DeAndre, I was me. The version of me I thought had died under bills and motherhood and long days pretending everything was fine. I didn't just fall into an affair. I ran into it, eyes open, heart pounding. And even though I knew it was wrong, I never wanted it to stop. Rain tapped against the windows like tiny reminders of everything I tried to forget. It was a Thursday evening. I had just come back from DeAndre's place. Again. Every visit felt shorter, but more intense, more dangerous. I never stayed the night. I couldn't. But the guilt came home with me like a scent on my skin. Isaiah was asleep on the couch, our daughter Harmony curled up beside him in her pink unicorn pajamas. They looked peaceful, safe, the kind of love you build slowly, day by day. But I had shattered it with a single choice. I tiptoed to the bathroom and locked the door behind me. I stripped off my clothes and turned on the shower, letting the hot water beat against me like punishment. I leaned my forehead against the tile and tried to cry, but nothing came. Only flashes, DeAndre's hands on my hips, the way he gripped me like I was his, and his alone. The way I melted when he whispered my name in that low, husky voice, and the way I let it happen again. And again. I slid down to the floor of the shower, knees pulled to my chest, steam rising all around me. I had to stop, but I didn't want to. The next morning, Isaiah kissed me goodbye before heading to a warehouse job he picked up for extra cash. "Don't overwork yourself today," he said. "We need you strong, meek." I nodded and smiled like I still deserved his care. At the beauty supply store, I went through motions, restocking shelves, recommending wigs to walk in clients, pretending to be normal. But inside, I was unraveling. DeAndre texted, "Tonight?" I stared at the screen for a long time, then typed slowly, "I can't." He replied instantly, "Why?" I didn't respond. At home that night, I cooked Harmony's favorite, mac and cheese with turkey sausages, and helped her with a school project. We painted clouds on cardboard together, laughing when she accidentally flicked blue across my cheek. "Mommy, you look like a sky," she giggled. I forced a laugh. If only she knew how cloudy her mama really was. Later, when she was asleep and Isaiah was watching a game in the living room, I found myself scrolling through old pictures of me and Isaiah, back when we were still dating, back when things felt new. He used to write me poems, used to wait outside my job with flowers, used to touch me like I was a treasure, not a task. What happened to us? Or was the better question, what happened to me? I snuck outside, told him I was taking out trash. I stood in the driveway, staring up at the stars. Then my phone rang. It was DeAndre. I froze, staring at his name. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. "Hello?" "You disappeared," he said. "You okay?" "No," I whispered, "but I can't keep doing this." There was silence. Then his voice dropped lower. "You didn't sound like you wanted to stop when you were shaking under me 2 nights ago." I closed my eyes, every word hitting like a slow drum beat. That voice, that memory. "I'm trying to be a good wife," I said, "a good mother." "Then why do you feel more alive with me than you ever did at home?" His words sliced me open. I wanted to hang up. Instead, I found myself whispering, "Because I forgot what it felt like to be wanted." He sighed on the other end. "I don't just want you, Mika. I see you." My knees buckled slightly. I had to lean on the wall beside the trash bins just to keep from collapsing. "Stop calling," I said, voice shaking. "Please." Then I hung up, but the ache didn't leave. 2 nights later, Isaiah came home early. I was on the couch pretending to read. He walked in quietly, carrying a small box. "What's that?" I asked. He handed it to me, smiling shyly. "Something I saw and thought of you." I opened it slowly. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a charm that said, "My Queen." I stared at it like it was poison. He sat beside me. "I know we've been off. I know things are hard. But I love you, Meek, and I want us back." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I'm trying," I whispered. "I believe you," he said, pulling me close. I leaned into him. Let him hold me. Let him believe the lie I had just spoken. But inside, I felt hollow. Later that night, Isaiah touched me again. His hands were soft, unsure. I responded out of duty, not desire. I whispered his name, forced pleasure into my voice. He didn't know he was sharing me, but he would. Eventually. Because secrets this heavy don't stay buried. And mine was already starting to rot everything it touched. The sun barely rose that morning, hiding behind thick gray clouds like it, too. Was ashamed of what I'd become. Isaiah kissed my cheek before leaving for work again, like he always did. His hands lingered a bit longer this time, brushing down my back before resting on my hips. I could feel his hope, that this was the start of something new between us. But inside, I was splintering. I went back inside, poured myself a coffee, and sat by the window, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. A message from DeAndre. I lied. That's all it said. I frowned, typing back quickly. About what? His reply took a moment. "You ain't just a good time to me, Meek. I'm not playing games. I want you to leave him. I sat frozen, the air suddenly thick. This wasn't just about lust anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I watched Isaiah as he slept, the way his chest rose and fell slowly. I remembered how we used to be. I remembered the way he held Harmony the day she was born. His eyes filled with more emotion than I'd ever seen in him. He was a good man, a solid man, but I didn't love him anymore. Worse, I wasn't sure I ever truly had. I rolled out of bed silently and tiptoed to the bathroom with my phone. I called DeAndre. He answered immediately. I miss you, he said. Don't, I whispered. Don't say that. But it's the truth. You feel it too. I know you do. I swallowed hard. I need to see you, I said, but not at your place, somewhere else. We met at a hotel 20 minutes outside the city, in a quiet town where no one knew us. The front desk clerk didn't even glance up when we checked in, just slid the key across with disinterest. When we got to the room, I stood in the doorway for a moment, heart pounding in my ears. DeAndre walked behind me, pressing his chest softly to my back, his voice a whisper against my neck. You sure you want this? I turned slowly to face him, reaching for the buttons on his shirt. I'm already gone, I whispered, even if I'm still living with him. He kissed me deeply, with the kind of need that blurred everything else away. Clothes peeled off like we were shedding guilt itself. He laid me down gently, his touch firm but never rushed. His lips traced the soft of my collarbone, moved across the curve of my stomach. I arched beneath him, letting my hands explore every inch of him like it was our first time all over again. We moved together, slow at first, then desperate, tangled in sheets and sighs and stolen time. Our rhythm built and built, like waves crashing against a shore we weren't supposed to be near. Afterward, we lay in silence. I turned to him, barely able to meet his eyes. I think I'm falling, I said. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. Then fall. I'll catch you. But the fall came faster than I expected. 3 days later, I came home to find Isaiah sitting on the edge of the couch, his elbows resting on his knees, phone in hand. His expression? Empty. He looked up at me slowly. Where were you? My breath caught. I ran errands. He said nothing, just tapped his phone screen. A photo appeared. Me and DeAndre in the hotel lobby, my hand in his, frozen mid-laugh. I staggered. Isaiah, I can explain. He stood abruptly, rage and pain boiling just behind his eyes. How long, Mecca? I couldn't speak. How long? He barked. I sank to my knees, tears spilling. I didn't mean for this to happen. He laughed bitterly. They always say that, but you meant to go to him. You meant to sleep with him. You just didn't mean to get caught. I reached for him. He stepped back. Our daughter stepped into the room then, rubbing her eyes. Mommy? Daddy? What's wrong? Isaiah's voice broke. Go back to bed, baby. Harmony looked between us, confused, scared. I went to her, knelt, pulled her into my arms. Isaiah walked out and didn't come back that night, or the next. The silence became the loudest thing in the house. No more morning kisses, no more shared glances, no more love yous before he left. He moved into the guest room. We became two shadows passing in the hallway, barely speaking. DeAndre called, texted, begged me to come back to him, but I couldn't move. I was trapped by guilt, by the weight of what I'd done, by the way Harmony now stared at me like I wasn't the same mother anymore. And maybe I wasn't. I used to be the one who tucked her in, whispering prayers and kissing her forehead. Now she asked for her dad more than she asked for me. One night, I stood outside the guest room, hand on the doorknob, heart pounding. I knocked softly. No answer. I turned the knob. Inside, Isaiah was asleep. On the nightstand beside a lamp lay our wedding photo. He had turned it face down. A month had passed. Isaiah still hadn't said much to me. We talked only when it concerned Harmony, who would drop her off, what time her piano lessons were, when the parent teacher meeting was scheduled. But everything else between us was silence. I tried to fix it. I cooked his favorite meals. He didn't eat them. I wore that sundress he loved, the yellow one with the thin straps. He didn't even glance my way. It was like I was living with a ghost, and I was the one who died. One Saturday morning, I took Harmony to the park. She played on the swings, giggling with two kids from school. I sat on the bench, alone, watching her. My phone buzzed again. DeAndre. Still texting, still calling, still promising me love in a way Isaiah no longer could. But I didn't reply. For the first time, I didn't want to. Later that night, Isaiah and I found ourselves in the same kitchen at the same time. He opened the fridge. I stood at the sink, washing apples. The silence was unbearable. I broke it. "I'm sorry," I said softly. "I know that means nothing now, but I am." He didn't look at me. "You said you loved me," he murmured. "I thought I did." He turned then, eyes like ice. "So, what was I? A step before your upgrade?" "No," I whispered. "You were safe. You were kind. You were the man I needed when I had nothing. But I grew and didn't know how to tell you I wanted something more." His jaw tightened. "So instead of saying it, you just went and got it." I nodded, ashamed. He looked at me for a long time, and when he spoke again, his voice was calm. Too calm. I read the journal. My knees buckled. "What? The one you hid under the bathroom sink? The one you forgot to lock?" He stepped closer. "I know everything. Every word. Every night you lied. Every time you said you were out getting groceries or visiting your sister." I read the truth. My heart collapsed. Tears ran down my cheeks. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because saying something wouldn't have fixed what you broke." That night, he moved out. He packed 2 bags, kissed Harmony's forehead, and looked at me one last time. I hope he was worth everything. I didn't stop him, because I knew I had destroyed something beautiful. 3 months later, I found myself back in the same park, this time alone. DeAndre was no longer in the picture. After Isaiah left, everything with him fell apart. He wanted me, but not the broken version of me left behind. He loved the fantasy of me, not the reality, and I wasn't enough anymore. I started therapy. It was hard at first. I didn't want to admit the truth, that I cheated because I was empty, not because Isaiah failed me. I cheated because I wanted to feel alive, wanted someone to tell me I still had value, even if it was a lie. But as weeks passed, I learned how to look at myself, really look, and not flinch. Harmony stayed with Isaiah most weekends. She still loved me, but I could tell she no longer trusted me in the same way. One night, she asked me, "Mommy, why did Daddy stop loving us?" And I had to blink back tears and say, "He didn't stop loving you. Grown up hearts are just more fragile than we think." To all the vault seekers out there, whether you're new or returning, I want you to sit with this story for a moment. Infidelity isn't just about bodies, it's about trust. It's about wounds that bleed long after the affair is over. Sometimes the partner who cheated wasn't trying to betray, they were trying to escape a pain they didn't know how to talk about. But that doesn't make it right. What this story teaches us is this: you don't fix an empty cup by pouring it into someone else's hands. You fix it by facing your own cracks and sealing them with truth. Relationships need honesty, not perfection, not fantasy, honesty. If this story touched something in you, if you cried, if you saw yourself, if you felt even a flicker of truth, then don't scroll away in silence. Vault Seekers, show your love by hitting that subscribe button right now. Click the notification bell so you never miss another deep, real, and unforgettable story. Drop a comment. What would you do if you were Isaiah, or Mecca, or even DeAndre? And to every returning viewer, thank you for your loyalty, your trust, and your time. Top Stories Vault isn't just a channel, it's a home for raw, emotional, powerful storytelling. We see you, we feel you, and we're not done yet. Until the next story, stay bold, stay real, and stay digging deep.